My name is Chris Panda, and today I'll be presenting to you about mental friction. Imagine someone spends $13 to get a pint of ice cream delivered to their house. One pint. Meanwhile, the grocery store selling the exact same ice cream for $7 is only a 5-minute walk away. Most people would hear that and think, that's ridiculous. But at the same time, it also feels completely normal. Because we live in a world designed to remove friction from our lives. We can order food without leaving our beds, watch entire seasons of shows without waiting, get answers instantly without wondering, and avoid boredom every second of the day with our phones. Modern life teaches us one thing over and over again. The easier something is, the better it must be. But what if that isn't true? What if some forms of friction are actually necessary? Because when you look at the moments that shape people the most, like learning new skills, building confidence, discovering identity, or overcoming fear, almost all of them begin with discomfort. Not convenience, but discomfort. And that's why mental friction is necessary. Mental friction is the uncomfortable feeling that happens when your brain has to struggle a little. It's the feeling of staring at a blank page before writing. The awkward silence in a difficult conversation. The frustration of learning something new. We usually treat these feelings like problems. But neuroscience says that they might actually be signs of growth. There's a psychology concept called desirable difficulty. The idea is simple. When learning feels slightly harder, people often remember things better later. Students who have to struggle to recall information build stronger memory connections than students who learn everything easily. In other words, easy is not always effective. The brain grows through resistance, just like muscles do. If you go to the gym and lift weights with no resistance, your muscles do not grow stronger. They grow because tension forces them to adapt. The brain works in the same way. Mental friction forces adaptation. And yet, modern life trains us to avoid it constantly. The second we feel bored, we grab our phones. And the second something feels difficult, we switch tabs. The second a conversation feels uncomfortable, we avoid it. We are becoming less used to struggle, and that matters. Because some of the most important parts of being human require friction. Confidence requires doing things before you feel ready. Creativity requires sitting with uncertainty. Friendship requires vulnerability, and growth requires discomfort. But social media often makes us forget that. We see the polished results without seeing the friction behind them. We see the finished speech, but not the hours of rewriting. The perfect performance, but not the anxiety beforehand. So we start believing that successful people move through life smoothly, but they don't. Behind almost every meaningful achievement is a person, where someone felt overwhelmed, uncertain, or stuck. That part just usually stays invisible. Students especially need to hear this, because a lot of us grew up believing that intelligence is supposed to look effortless. If math feels hard, we think we're bad at math. If public speaking feels scary, we think we're just not speakers. And if writing feels frustrating, we think we're not creative. But difficulty is not proof of incapability. Difficulty is often proof that your brain is adapting. Neuroscientists call this neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change and reorganize itself through experience. Every time you struggle through something difficult, your brain is literally building stronger neural pathways. That uncomfortable feeling you get, it might actually be construction happening in real time. Now obviously, not all stress is healthy. There's a difference between growth and burnout. Constant exhaustion is not productive, and overwhelming pressure is not healthy. But somewhere between complete comfort and complete burnout is a space where growth happens. A space where people become more resilient, confident, and capable. So maybe instead of always asking, how do I make my life easier? We should sometimes ask, what struggles are worth experiencing? Because maybe the awkward conversation is building courage. Maybe the uncertainty is building identity. Maybe the frustration is building skill. And maybe friction is not getting in the way of growth, but is the reason growth happens at all. So the next time something meaningful feels uncomfortable, I hope you don't immediately assume you're failing. Because the brain doesn't grow most in moments of ease, it grows in moments of challenge. And maybe the 5 minutes walk to the grocery store sounds small, but it represents something bigger. It represents a world where we're constantly taught to avoid effort, discomfort, and friction at all costs. But human beings were never meant to grow in completely frictionless environments. Because as muscles grow through tension, brains grow through challenges, and people grow through resistance. Thank you.